The House will be in order. The chair lays before the House a communication from the Speaker.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., January 13th, 2026. I hereby appoint the Honorable Andrew S. Clyde to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Pursuant to the order of the House of January 6, 2026, the chair now recognizes members from lists submitted by the majority and minority leaders for morning hour debate. The chair will alternate recognition between the parties, the time equally allocated between the parties and each member, other than the majority and minority leaders, and the minority whip limited to 5 minutes, but in no event shall debate continue beyond 11:50 a.m. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Delaware, Representative McBride, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate Lieutenant Colonel Chaplain Reverend Dr. Ashellarine Addison on her recent promotion at the Delaware Army National Guard. I rise today to congratulate Lieutenant Colonel Chaplain Reverend Dr. Ashellarine Addison on her recent promotion at the Delaware Army National Guard. Earlier this month, I was honored to attend her promotion ceremony and celebrate her historic role as the first woman to hold this rank at the Delaware National Guard. And I was moved hearing about her commitment to her fellow guardsmen. Before her time at the Delaware National Guard, she served as the first woman chaplain at the National Guard Bureau in Arlington, Virginia. Her devotion to spiritual empowerment and trauma-informed healing has made her an indispensable leader to Delaware's Army National Guard, and I look forward to seeing the work she continues to do in shaping the spiritual lives of those around her. Well done, Lieutenant Colonel Addison. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in recognition of the closing of Grassroots, a gift shop in Newark, Delaware, after 50 years in business. What started as a small shop on Newark's Main Street grew into a Delaware institution with locations across our state, from Wilmington to Hockessin to Rehoboth Beach. But its heart always stayed in Newark. Grassroots weathered changing times. It survived recessions. It adapted as retail shifted online, and through it all, it remained a constant presence, helping define the character of downtown Newark for a generation. Marilyn Dickey, who co-founded Grassroots in 1975, poured more than half her life into the store. Grassroots wasn't just a business. It was part of the rhythm of Newark, a reminder that local businesses create connections and build community. As Grassroots closes this chapter and Marilyn begins a well-earned retirement, Delaware wishes you all the best and thanks you for your years of community service and creativity. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to highlight the voices of my Delaware constituents, Dwayne and Karen Johnson, who turned the unimaginable loss of their daughter, Faith Deanna Johnson, into life-saving advocacy through their organization, Dreams of Faith. Faith was just 26 years old when she died from ovarian cancer. For years, her symptoms were dismissed or misdiagnosed until it was too late. Faith's ovarian cancer cut her life far too short. Before she passed, Faith made one request of her parents: make sure this doesn't happen to someone else. In Delaware, we listened. When I served in the state Senate, I was proud to help pass House Bill 15, the Faith Deanna Johnson Act, which requires individual health insurance plans to cover annual ovarian cancer screenings for women at risk and expand monitoring for survivors. That law is already saving lives because it treats women's medical needs seriously and acts before it's too late. Here's why this matters. Ovarian cancer is often caught too late, but when detected early, survival rates dramatically increase. Early detection isn't just good medical practice, it's the difference between life and death. Today, I carry the Johnsons' story with me to Congress. Their advocacy reminds us that policy is personal, and that too often, families are failed not just by delayed diagnosis, but by the very system tasked with caring for our health, one that too often puts barriers between people and the care that they need. We owe it to Faith and to families across this country to keep pushing for early detection, meaningful insurance coverage, and a healthcare system that truly puts patients first. Thank you, and I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Carter, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate the 110th anniversary of the Riverview Hotel in St. Mary's, Georgia, one of our state's most cherished historic landmarks. Built in 1916, the Riverview Hotel rests on the banks of the St. Mary's River and has welcomed travelers and locals for more than a century. For generations, this hotel has offered hospitality and a sense of belonging to visitors from near and far. It has welcomed notable guests over the decades and stood as a testament to Seaside, Georgia's heritage. The spirit of this place reflects the heart of St. Mary's. Its veranda overlooking the river and its proximity to the ferry for Cumberland Island connect visitors with the history and natural beauty of our coastal region. Today, we honor the Riverview Hotel for preserving tradition, welcoming families and travelers, and contributing to the vibrant life of Southeast Georgia for 110 years. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize and congratulate Gallery 209, located at 209 East River Street in Savannah, on celebrating 50 years at his historic location. Founded in February of 1975 by a group of Savannah artists, Gallery 209 has remained a member-driven space where artists come together to sell their work, share resources, and support one another. For 5 decades, it has been a cornerstone of Savannah's artistic community and a vital part of River Street's identity. The gallery has showcased the work of countless local artists, offering visitors ceramics, fiber art, jewelry, paintings, photography, woodworking, and other handcrafted pieces that reflect the creative spirit of our region. Artists like Randall Powell and Sharon Sassam speak to the sense of family and shared purpose that defines Gallery 209. As Savannah continues to grow, Gallery 209 stands as a reminder that local art and culture remain essential to our community. I commend its artists for sustaining this tradition and wish them continued success for generations to come. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Swan Seiler, named the 2026 Woman of the Year by the United Way of the Coastal Empire at the annual Women Who Rule event in Savannah, Georgia. Her leadership, service, and commitment to community reflect the very best of civic engagement and personal dedication. A graduate of the University of Georgia's Henry W. Grady School of Journalism, Ms. Seiler built a distinguished career in corporate communications and public affairs before retiring. She served Georgia Power and contributed her talents to community boards and nonprofit organizations throughout the region. Ms. Seiler's service includes leadership roles with cultural institutions, historic preservation efforts, education foundations, and civic organizations that strengthen families and neighborhoods across the coastal empire. She has lifted up countless causes and encouraged others to give back in meaningful ways. The Women Who Rule campaign supports reliable transportation for women and caregivers, helping them get to work, school, and medical appointments. Ms. Weiler's example inspires us to build stronger communities through service. Congratulations, Swan. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Special Agent Joe Cephas of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, who is honored by the Evans County Sheriff's Office with the 2025 Support Officer Award. Special Agent Cephas has served his community and state with integrity and courage. His work alongside local law enforcement in Evans County demonstrated steadfast support during critical investigations and helped strengthen the bond between state and local public safety partners. His commitment to protecting families and upholding the rule of law reflects a deep sense of duty to his neighbors and fellow Georgians. The Support Officer Award is given to individuals whose actions have gone above and beyond their normal responsibilities to help keep the community safe. By stepping forward in challenging circumstances and offering assistance without hesitation, Special Agent Cephas embodied what it means to serve with professionalism and care. Today, we thank Special Agent Joe Cephas for his service, his partnership, and his example of servant leadership in law enforcement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Illinois, Mrs. Ramirez, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King by commending a liberation leader, Frank Chapman. Frank's political education began in St. Louis, where he experienced the violence of racism and repression and was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison in his 20s. But Frank has always been an organizer, an educator. He taught himself law and launched a movement to desegregate the prison, where Black prisoners had faced brutal and inhumane treatment. The bars in prison didn't break him or limit his spirit. On the contrary, it propelled him to fight for the liberation of those in prison and all people. After his release, Frank established himself as a fixture in the struggle for liberation in Chicago and beyond. Whether it's his leadership of the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, his successful campaigns for community control of the police, or his solidarity with immigrant communities in the fight to protect our neighbors from ICE, Frank has consistently fought to defend the most fundamental of our collective human rights and our shared liberation. You see, this week carries profound significance for Frank. It marks the 50th anniversary of his release from prison. So I'm honored on behalf of Illinois' 3rd Congressional District to commend Frank Chapman for his lifelong commitment to building the beloved community, championing civil and human rights, and practicing solidarity across our intersections, our identities, and our issues. Thank you, Frank. Congratulations, and all power to the people. Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor my constituent, Juliet de Jesus Alejandre. Juliet is a triracial Latina who honors her African and indigenous ancestry with roots in Ecuador and Puerto Rico. She's a healer, an organizer, a poet, a visionary, and she's the current executive director of Palenque LSNA. Her love for Black, for brown, indigenous, and immigrant communities, and her bold vision of collective liberation is deeply rooted in healing, in joy, and solidarity, especially among young Latinos and Madres Inmigrantes. To fight erasure, she connects young leaders to their history and their genealogy. To fight displacement, she builds collective ownership. To fight dehumanization, she invokes our ancestral histories as she casts visions that help us imagine new ways forward that leave all of our communities better and stronger. And so on behalf of Illinois' 3rd Congressional District, it is my honor to commend Juliet de Jesus Alejandre for her bold, for her loving, for her creative leadership that builds people power to shape our future, because we know que el pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Thank you, Juliet, and congratulations. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Flood, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Papillion, Nebraska's Mayor David Black as a paragon of public service and remarkable stewardship. Through more than 2 decades of service to the people of Papillion, Mayor Black helped guide the city into the thriving economic hub that it is today. This month, he announced he will not seek re-election, which will conclude 17.5 years as mayor and nearly 5 additional years serving the city in other roles. Mayor Black leaves behind a strong foundation built on partnership with an exceptional professional staff and the business community. Decades of engagement and community outreach have produced clear results, attracting firms like Google and Facebook to expand to Papillion. He will be deeply missed by the people of Papillion, and I'm hopeful he will continue public service down the road. Mayor Black has more than earned the opportunity to spend additional time with his family once his final term concludes. Papillion, Mr. Speaker, is a special place, with Mayor Black's legacy being built, yet another example of that truth. Thank you for your outstanding public service. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize former U.S. Senator Ben Sasse. Ben is a Nebraskan, a native, a Fremonter. He lives in the 1st Congressional District. Early in his career, he served as a chief of staff for a previous member of this same district. Last month, Ben announced that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. This news stunned me, and quite frankly, it stunned the world. Ever since Ben has stepped back from public life following his time in the Senate and at the University of Florida, his intellect and voice have continued to influence conversation across the country. From education to healthcare and beyond, he shaped debates in higher ed, politics, journalism, and more through the years. Ben did this all at a young age, and even though he has a very public profile, he and his wife, Melissa, have built a vibrant family. All of this made the cancer diagnosis seem almost unthinkable. While this is hard news for all of us to hear, we know this isn't the end of the story. Ben has a lot of fight left in him, and as he has joked himself, quote, "He's not dead yet," end quote. From the people of the 1st District and across Nebraska, Ben, know that we are praying for you. We are with you, with Melissa and your kids, and I know you won't back down from this fight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Latimer, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, in the Holy Bible's book of Exodus, a book which is sacred to both Christians and Jews, it is written that Almighty God hands down, through Moses, 10 commandments that represent the bedrock of ethical behavior and rules that govern human conduct. My colleagues in Texas and Louisiana have state laws that post them inside public facilities. In one form or another, secular laws are written with these commandments in mind to provide civil sanction against those who would commit murder or lie at a court proceeding under oath. And such laws govern against stealing what others legitimately own, their property and possessions. We now face one of the most important tests of our democracy in over 150 years, whether the federal government will blatantly steal the assets of an independent sovereign nation who is our ally for no legitimate reason other than lust for land. In the rhetoric of coveting thy neighbor's goods, the President of the United States is fixed on coveting the sovereign land of the Kingdom of Denmark, the island of Greenland. This president has spoken about it in his frequent public ruminations, and we learn he has tasked our military to plan how we might take Greenland by force without the consent of Denmark. This would open a shameful chapter as we celebrate the 250th year of our own independence, that we would turn our backs on the principles established by the Founding Fathers and act as if we are one of the thug nations of the world ourselves. Saddam Hussein's Iraq seized Kuwait. Vladimir Putin's Russia launched war to take over Ukraine. Adolf Hitler grabbed Poland and Czechoslovakia, and for a while, all of continental Europe. Mussolini took Ethiopia, and Chairman Xi has long coveted Taiwan. Each presented their flimsy reasons for their actions, justifications that fooled no one. Is this who America wants to emulate? Putin? Hitler? Hussein? The flimsy reason offered by the president and his minions, notably Stephen Miller, references our ability to protect America from an Arctic region threat. With that very thought in mind, in 1951, we signed an agreement with Denmark that allows us to place military assets in Greenland that we feel we need with the support and agreement of Denmark. They have not reneged in that deal or thrown up roadblocks to American defense needs. We are trying to burst into a room by force when the door is set wide open and the welcome mat is displayed. But Denmark, a NATO ally, owns Greenland legally, and if it doesn't choose to sell it, it remains legally theirs. Thy neighbor's ox and house, not ours. Any U.S. military action against Greenland breaks the NATO rule and puts us at odds with our allies, allies that in the post-World War II era have helped us restrain Russian aggression for nearly a century. Denmark, as an ally, responded to our action in Afghanistan. They lost 43 men there simply because they honored their NATO commitment and stood by their friend, the United States of America. Perhaps this president hates NATO so much that he has rallied against elements of it before, and in that he supports the wishes of Vladimir Putin that sees NATO as an impediment to his empire building, the desire for retaking Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and Ukraine. We have, as of late, decided that it's okay to insult European leaders at the UN, threaten the countries of Latin America, disrespect our closest friend Canada, and generally act with an arrogant swagger. We have the world's greatest military, but it is not a toy to be used to glorify any one man's lust for an expanded control of land. It is not the Department of War. It is the Department of Defense. That is how Americans view our role in the world, to defend ourselves and to defend freedom in a world with dictators and thugs who would subjugate us all if they could. God stop us if we become the thug, if we become the dictatorship that uses our economic and military strength to bully this world. The power of any president is not about what one man thinks is moral. It is guided by constitutional limitations, including 3 branches of government, not a dominant dictator and a subservient Politburo and judiciary. Harry Truman understood this. Dwight Eisenhower understood this. John F. Kennedy understood this, and so did Lyndon Johnson, and Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. These men, whether you deem their presidencies good or bad, understood what it is to have allies across the globe and how to keep America as the shining light to guide this planet. Attacking Greenland for no strategic benefit that we don't already have puts us in league with Russia and China. We will regret such a decision every day that we live thereafter. Let this Congress make a strong, unambiguous statement that America does not take land for some trumped-up reason. We stand for the rule of law and for freedom and respect for others. That is what sets our nation apart. If we snatch Greenland as a show of power, we give no reason for the people of the world to side with us when some other nation confronts us in a future year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Luttrell, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Human Trafficking Awareness Month and to speak about the serious threat human trafficking represents here and globally. Now, human trafficking is the second largest criminal enterprise in the world, second to only that of drug trafficking. Human trafficking generates an estimated $150 billion a year and enslaves nearly 50 million people. The most vulnerable are our children and young adults. They are being targeted and exploited through their phones, through their computer systems, through gaming systems, and through social media. Every 30 seconds, a child is sold into slavery. Every 30 seconds, another child is sold into slavery. Human trafficking is not just a distant overseas problem. The issue is here. It's in our communities. It's in our small towns. It's in our big cities. Now, I'm from Texas, and Texas being a border state, we are the hot spot for human trafficking. We lead the country in that issue. And I ask our elected officials, I ask our law enforcement officers, how do we combat this? How do we defeat this mechanism? These cartels and these gangs move these people every day. It starts with community awareness. You have to be willing to recognize the problem. You have to be willing to watch. We have FIFA World Cup. We have the Super Bowl coming up. This will swarm our country even more so than now with this issue. I talk to school board members. I talk to parents. I've spoken to young men and women who have been trafficked. And it's hard to speak about. A lot of the young ladies like to keep that, to themselves. But we have to look past that. We in Congress have to legislate forcefully. We have to go after these bastards who are taking advantage of our babies every single day. If we don't, this problem will continue to exist. I ask law enforcement, what do you need? They need technology. They need us to listen. They need funding. They need our help. This is an American problem. It will not go away with the advancements of technology that we are seeing today. They will reach out and touch every single person they possibly can because it makes them money. This is like cancer, unfortunately. If cancer does not touch you or your family, you don't want to recognize it. You will not address it until it lands on the House. Ladies and gentlemen, this issue is here. These babies cannot protect themselves. It is our responsibility to watch over them. We have to do that. Enough is enough. In 2021, the estimated report, again, was 50 million people are sold into slavery. 50 million people. This is a problem the United States and the globe should not have. This is not a red or blue issue. This is a red, white, and blue issue. I talk to my colleagues from Texas on a daily basis. They are just as engaged as we are. But I talk to the American people and I ask you, we need your help. We have to Facebook this thing. It has to spread like a wave. Do not be shy about this issue, ladies and gentlemen. Our babies depend on them to watch over them. I have 2 beautiful sons, and I give them the latitude they need, but I watch over them every single day because I am 1 county away from the worst county in the country when it comes to human trafficking. And I honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm embarrassed to have to say that. But we have to fix that here. We have to fix that in every single state in the country. And we can do that if we just activate and show the bad actors that we will tolerate this no more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Illinois, Ms. Kelly, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And before my colleague from Texas walks out, I just want to tell you whatever I can do to help you because the Chicagoland area is number 3. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise today to announce I will be impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Secretary Noem has violated the Constitution, and she needs to be held accountable for terrorizing our communities. Operation Midway Blitz has torn apart the Chicagoland area. President Trump declared war on Chicago, and then he brought violence and destruction to our city and our suburbs in the form of immigration enforcement. In my district, federal agents rappelled down from Black Hawk helicopters and burst into an apartment building in the South Shore area. They dragged U.S. citizens and non-citizens alike out of their beds in the middle of the night. They claimed the apartment was infiltrated by members of a Venezuelan gang. I don't understand this president's obsession with Venezuela, but they did not arrest a single member from that gang. I visited that apartment building and saw firsthand the destruction those agents left. Doors to people's homes or apartments were kicked down. Belongings, including little kids' toys, were strewn about in the hallway. That raid and so many others shook our community, not just immigrants, but everyone. Now Secretary Noem has brought her reign of terror to Minneapolis after she left Charlotte and Raleigh. We have all seen what happened. An ICE officer shot and killed Renee Nicole Good in cold blood. Without knowing any of the facts or an investigation, Secretary Noem lied about what happened. She called a beloved 37-year-old mom a domestic terrorist. Secretary Noem and her rogue agents are the ones terrorizing our communities, and she is breaking the law to do so. I will hold her accountable, and I'm filing 3 articles of impeachment against Secretary Noem. Number 1, obstruction of Congress. Secretary Noem has denied me and other members of Congress oversight of ICE detention facilities. It is our constitutional duty to find out what's happening in these centers where people are reportedly being treated like less than animals. 2, violation of public trust. Secretary Noem directed ICE agents to arrest people without warrants, use tear gas against citizens, and ignore due process. She claims she's taken murderers and rapists off our streets, but none of the 614 people arrested during Operation Midway Blitz has been charged or convicted of murder or rape. 3, self-dealing. Secretary Noem has abused her power for personal benefit. She steered a federal contract to a new firm run by a friend, her friend. Her propaganda campaign to recruit ICE agents cost taxpayers $200 million. She made a video that turned the South Shore raid into something that looked more like a movie trailer. But make no mistake, this is not a movie. This is real life, and real people are being hurt and killed. I really have to wonder who are the people behind the mask. These DHS agents have no identifying factor. From all their botched raids and officer-involved shootings, I have to ask, what is their training like? What is the vetting? Is Secretary Noem recruiting January 6th insurrectionists? I was one of the last members of Congress to escape the House gallery on January 6th. I remember hiding on my hands and knees and running through the hallways to a safe room. Insurrectionists are not fit to serve as law enforcement. I realize that impeachment of Secretary Noem does not bring Renee back. True justice would be Renee alive today, at home with her family. Impeachment doesn't bring back the 4 other people killed by immigration officers this year, including a man in Chicago. We could not bring them back to their loved ones. What we can do, though, is impeach Secretary Noem, hold her accountable, let her know the public is watching. In this country, we do not kill people in cold blood without consequences. These are not policy disagreements. These are violations of her oath of office, and she must answer for her impeachable actions. I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Rutherford, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the memory of Jim P. Citrano, who passed away this last August at the age of 83. Jim was born on January 2nd, 1942 in Newark, New Jersey, and after graduating from Colgate University, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. In 1967, Jim was deployed to Vietnam as an H-34 helicopter pilot with the Hotel Mike 363rd, also known as the Lucky Red Lions. They were flying support assault missions and earning Jim the Distinguished Flying Cross. After the war, Mr. Speaker, this American hero relocated to Jacksonville, Florida with his wife and 4 children. And there he built a successful 40-year career in commercial real estate, property management, development, and brokerage. Always a community servant, Mr. Citrano generously dedicated his time, serving on numerous boards, including St. Vincent's Hospital and the University of North Florida. As a law and order man, Jim was also a faithful supporter of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and as sheriff, I was very proud to call him my friend. He was a valued member of our Northeast Florida community and will be greatly missed by all. I pray for Mr. Citrano's beloved family and friends as they mourn this great loss. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Courtney, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, last Friday, President Trump hosted a meeting at the White House with all the major oil company executives and members of his cabinet to talk about Venezuelan oil. During the televised gathering, he veered off topic and rambled on one of his pet peeves, wind power. In addition to his usual complaints about how aesthetically ugly wind turbines are, he added a new startling criticism to his repertoire, namely that Europe and the U.S. are suckers for allowing China to sell us wind turbine parts, while at the same time, China doesn't even use wind power in its own country. Here's exactly what he said. Quote, all you have to do is say to China, how many windmill areas do you have in China? So far, they've not been able to find any. They use coal, oil, and gas, and some nuclear, not much. They don't have the windmills. They make them and they sell them to suckers like Europe and suckers like the United States. Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter, as this headline yesterday from Forbes magazine states, quote, China does in fact have wind turbines, a lot of them. Forbes, of course, is hardly a left-wing anti-Trump media outlet. As its article accurately reports, not only does China's wind industry exist, it is huge. According to the International Energy Administration, which has been tracking energy production by country for decades, China not only manufactures wind equipment, but also enjoys the largest wind production in the world, and today has twice as much new wind power under construction than the rest of the world combined. Their wind turbines are sited both offshore and onshore, and ironically, one of the oil executives who was in the room on Friday from Conoco is an investor and partner in a wind project in Bohai Bay, China. Mr. Speaker, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being accurate and 1 being false, President Trump's comments deserve a score of -10. China is not scamming Europe and the U.S. on wind power. It is, in fact, the most aggressive domestic user and builder of wind in the world. I raise this point, Mr. Speaker, not to play gotcha, although this is a pretty embarrassing gotcha, but rather to remind the House that right now in real life, the Trump bogus attack on wind power for no good reason is destroying good American jobs and cutting off an abundant supply of new energy, which our economy and American electricity ratepayers desperately need. For example, a couple of weeks ago, for the second time, the administration issued a decree terminating 5 offshore wind projects, many of which are close to completion, and which were supported by billions of dollars of private investment in years of permitting approval. Together, these projects will bring in thousands of new megawatts of power to consumers in New England, New York, and Virginia. Trump's halt work order cited vague, non-specific national security concerns as justification for this anti-worker, anti-ratepayer, and anti-growth decree. Luckily, Mr. Speaker, we have a government of laws, and yesterday, U.S. District Court Judge Royce Lamberth here in Washington struck down this frivolous decree so that crane operators, laborers, and electricians can get back to work this morning to create a modern and robust energy grid for the 21st century. Judge Lamberth, a Reagan appointee, thoroughly reviewed the exhaustive record of the New England-based Revolution Wind offshore project and correctly determined that the department, in fact, did not find a national security problem, but instead specifically issued a written finding a year ago that Revolution's turbines, quote, would not have an adverse impact on DoD missions. Mr. Speaker, you may recall that last September, the House debated an amendment to the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, where there was an attempt to create a statutory bar to offshore wind based on national security reasons. The House voted to reject such a straitjacket on wind power and instead rely on the experts at DoD to judge each project on the facts and the science. By the way, Mr. Speaker, just for the record, the turbine blades and components in the Revolution Wind project are not made in China. Up in New England, we pride ourselves in not, in fact, being suckers. Mr. Speaker, it is time for the administration's unfounded, irrational attack against wind power to stop. Contrary to what the president said, the rest of the world, including China, is aggressively pursuing this abundant source of power. And for the United States to intentionally deprive American building trades workers from good-paying jobs and deprive our national grid of much-needed energy supply makes no sense. The best way to cut electricity rates for consumers is to expand energy supply. And as the rest of the world recognizes, wind has to be part of that solution. Mr. Speaker, the only suckers in this area are policymakers in Washington who are spouting off blatantly false narratives about the value of wind energy. I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Baumgartner, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are many things that make Eastern Washington the greatest place to live in these wonderful United States of America. And today I rise to recognize one of those wonderful things. The Eastern Washington University Adaptive Athletics Program, home of the first collegiate National Wheelchair Basketball Association team in the Western United States. Founded in 2019, this program embodies the values of leadership, teamwork, positivity, and integrity, helping student athletes build confidence, discipline, and independence, both on and off the court. These athletes balance the same rigorous demands as all EW varsity players: classes, practices, study sessions, travel, and competition, all while setting a powerful example of determination and excellence. They continue to raise the bar for what collegiate athletics can be, showing that true greatness is defined by heart and perseverance. And I know on a personal level, each and every time I see these wonderful athletes, student athletes in person, I'm inspired. I've seen the team traveling to and from games on my own trips to DC, and I couldn't be prouder of their dedication and the way they represent Eastern Washington University. Go Eags. Mr. Speaker, last week was National Law Enforcement Day, and I rise to recognize the wonderful Officer Kelsey Torres of the Spokane Police Department, who is named Officer of the Quarter, and to shine the Eastern Washington spotlight on her outstanding service. This recognition is not just about one moment or one case. It reflects a pattern of service, of compassion, and of integrity that defines Officer Torres' work every single day. She embodies the values that make Eastern Washington so special: hard work, humility, and a deep commitment to helping neighbors in need. Her dedication reminds us that public service is about people, about showing up, lending a hand, and treating every person with dignity and respect while protecting us. It's officers like Kelsey Torres who strengthens the trust between law enforcement and our communities and who gives us pride in the place we call home. Today we honor her not for only her outstanding service, but for embodying the very best of Eastern Washington's spirit. And may I add, we honor all of our nation's law enforcement officers, and may this body back the blue. Mr. Speaker, today I rise to celebrate the North County Food Pantry in rural Elk, Washington. Nestled between the pristine forests and recovering farmland, this small 1982 mobile home has nourished hundreds of families in body and soul for decades. The pantry does far more than provide food. It offers connection, dignity, and a true sense of community. At the heart of the community is the director, Laura Benzinger, who has led the pantry for a little over for more than years and years of service. Drawing on her background in social services, she has made it her mission to ensure the pantry nourishes not only families' tables, but also their sense of belonging. Families come not just for groceries, but for fellowship, encouragement, and a place to see and be valued. The pantry brings in volunteers from every walk of life. The North County Food Pantry stands as a powerful reminder that fighting hunger is about more than filling plates. It's about nurturing the human spirit. It reflects the compassion and resilience that defines Eastern Washington. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and with that, I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Costa, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I recognize to the dedicated work that my team and our efforts as results of the work we've done for the people of the 21st Congressional District in California, encompassing Fresno and Tulare counties. We call it the breadbasket of not only California, but our nation. An incredible amount of cornucopia of over 400 commodities that we grow that is put on America's dinner table every night. Last year, we brought significant challenges to our country and to our valley that I represent, but notwithstanding my commitment and the commitment our office never wavered to serve the people of Fresno and Tulare counties with focus, with urgency, and results. Throughout 2025, I listened closely to the priorities of my constituents. Valley families told me the relief they needed from rising costs, affordability. Farmers and farm workers called for a stronger agricultural economy and better labor conditions, dealing with comprehensive immigration reform. Communities demanded access to health care, safe infrastructure, reliable water, and resources necessary to thrive. In 2025, our office secured $831 million in federal funding for communities across the San Joaquin Valley. Throughout our constituent casework, which is, I think, the meat and potatoes of any congressional office, we returned $74 million directly to residents of the 21st Congressional District. More than 1,200 constituent cases, responded to over 11,000 calls, letters, and requests for assistance for the people that we serve. That's our job, to serve the people and to get things done. So we invested in our children and working families. Critical. My team helped secure $35 million for Head Start programs in Fresno and Tulare counties. We strengthened critical infrastructure, which is necessary not only in our valley but throughout the country. We secured $31 million for Fresno Yosemite International Airport to improve infrastructure upgrades and also deal with the growing demands for the valley and regional economic growth, expanding the international terminal. We secured $3.5 million for the Kaweah River Siphon Project to improve water reliability while supporting valley agriculture and jobs. As we know, where water flows, food grows, and that's critical to our valley's economy. But in addition to that, we provide $1 million to the City of Kingsburg to establish a new City Hall, another $1 million to relocate the Orange Cove Police Department to make it more functional, and another $1 million for the Parlier Police Department. Thanks to bipartisan infrastructure law, we secured $254 million in federal investments to strengthen our water supply for the long term. And that includes $125 million to advance the BF6 Dam Raise and Reservoir Expansion Project that would provide another 130,000 acre-feet of water to the people of our valley. $129 million to support construction of Sites Reservoir, which will provide 1.5 million acre-feet of additional water for the people of California, critical, important of our long-term water supply. Mr. Speaker, the San Joaquin Valley is the breadbasket of our nation, supporting farmers, farm workers, ranchers, dairymen, and women, and it remains, obviously, as their representative, my highest priority to advocate on their behalf. When the avian influenza swept the valley and the country, it threatened livelihoods on the food of America's dinner table. I introduced the Healthy Poultry Assistance Indemnification Act to ensure growers are fairly compensated and our food supply remains strong and safe. That's what Americans want. We also honored separately those who have served our country and their families. We recognized 20 men and women from the Fresno Veterans Home who served our nation during World War II and the Korean War to ensure that their contributions are never forgotten, they're remembered, and they're celebrated. We should never forget those men and women currently in harm's way serving our country are those and their families who have served. Beyond our district, we've worked to support the United States leadership abroad by advocating for humanitarian assistance, accountability, and diplomacy in the global conflicts, while upholding Americans' values in the world stage, that beacon of light that President Reagan used to speak of, that other countries look toward. So, in closing, I will continue to work with my Democratic and Republican colleagues to deliver results and strengthen our communities for a better future.
The gentleman's time has expired.
More work needs to be done, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Indiana, Ms. Houchin, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, I rise in recognition of the 15-0 Indiana University football team for their historic season, winning the Rose Bowl, then the Peach Bowl, and now advancing to the College Football Playoffs National Championship. This team rose to the occasion when few expected it. Without a roster full of five-star recruits, they were often underestimated, but they responded again and again with discipline and toughness. Week after week, they proved that hard work and preparation still matter. Under the leadership of Coach Curt Cignetti, this team has put Indiana football on the map. A perfect regular season, a Big Ten championship victory over Ohio State for the program's first conference title since 1967, and Indiana's first Heisman Trophy, reflects what can be accomplished when a team fully commits to the standard set before them. On behalf of Indiana's 9th District, the home of our Indiana University Hoosiers, I commend Coach Cignetti, quarterback Fernando Mendoza, and the players on the team, like Charlie Becker, D'Angelo Pons, Pat Coogan, Elijah Surratt, and the entire Indiana football program for the achievement that has made our state so proud. I am rooting for the Indiana Hoosiers in the national championship this weekend. I hope they bring it home from Miami. I have no doubt they will. As Coach Signetti has said himself, this would make one heck of a movie. Good luck to the Hoosiers on Monday. Mr. Speaker, I rise to congratulate Presley Hampton of Jackson County on being named the Indiana State Fair Queen. Presley represents the very best of Indiana. She has shown dedication to agriculture, leadership in her community, and a strong work ethic that reflects the values so many young people across our state are raised with. The Indiana State Fair is more than a tradition. It's a celebration of farming, youth leadership, and the families who work every day to feed our country. Presley's achievements highlight the importance of programs like 4-H and FFA that prepare young leaders for the future. I know Presley will represent Indiana with integrity and pride, and I want to congratulate her family, mentors, and everyone who helped support her along the way. Southern Indiana is immensely proud of you, Presley, and we wish you all the best as you take on this role. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Starlight Distillery, an outstanding family-owned business in Southern Indiana. Operated by the 7th-generation Huber family, Starlight earned global recognition when its Japanese Mitsunara Reserve finished bourbon was named the best overall bourbon at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. That's right, Kentucky. Indiana bourbon is the world's best. This prestigious award reflects the family's dedication to hard work and a commitment to quality that has guided their business for generations. Starlight is more than just a distillery. It has put Southern Indiana on the map. The Huber family has built a business that supports local agriculture, creates jobs, and showcases what family-run enterprises in rural Indiana can achieve on the world stage. I'm proud to represent the Huber family and the many hardworking people behind Starlight Distillery. Their success is a testament to the strength of family businesses and the communities that support them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess until noon today.